So today, how many leading multi-strat hedge funds are there in the world of your size?
I think you can count them on one hand.
Very few.
Yeah.
It's hard because it's so hard to have that many different strategies and oversee them appropriately and get the rate of return you want.
It's a very difficult business to build and to maintain your edge in. I sort of liken it, and you would have a better view on this than me, to the private equity industry where 30 or 40 years ago, there were thousands of private equity firms, but today, the vast majority of the alpha is half a dozen firms. And I think it's very similar to that. It's very hard to go start up a firm today and go compete with Blackstone and Carlyle and Apollo. And I think it's the same thing in multistrats. The DNA of that type of firm, where in addition to just being a good investor or trader, you have to be good at people management, at recruiting, at infrastructure, at risk, at technology. Like that's very hard to compete at today from a standing start.
So when you don't, just go out looking for money, typically you have closed funds and so forth, but when you do open up for money, do people just rush in because it's hard to get into the multi-strat funds that are well known?
It depends on the time, and usually it's counter-cyclical. So after a more difficult period, as always, it's harder to raise capital. But as you know, usually those are the best times to get in when the recent numbers actually aren't that good, because whatever was causing that, whatever the headwinds were, chances are they're in the process of changing, and you've probably made improvements to the business during a difficult period. Conversely, when you're raising money after a really good period, it's very easy, but then usually the returns aren't quite as good.